Now, if we talk of 10x engineering again, so in 10x engineering, when you handle events and event sources, you should again think of how can I reduce the required effort of my team by 10x. That should be a goal. In order to do that, you have to think that at every layer of the whole flow that we discussed, that what part can be simply configured, number one, and not coded. So my team just needs to configure and tweak the parameters, feed the inputs, okay, but not code the whole setup, right? Setting up event source, setting up express, setting up authentication, authorization, okay, and do it in a best practices based way, in a reusable way, so on and so forth. That's one. Configuration. Second is schema driven development and single source of truth. Do I want to keep a single source of truth of my schemas, or I want multiple sources of truth to float around my team? For example, my API schema. When I am developing my API schema in my microservice or monolith, okay, or my elegant monolith, then am I writing the validations when I set up my event source and the middleware and the routes? Okay. Am I putting validation for every route in that place? Okay. Then there is one schema which is there in my code attached to every route. Then the second schema is the Swagger spec I publish, or the Postman collection I publish. Am I even publishing a Postman collection with every release which my team is consuming, or are they maintaining Postman collections various different versions? For example, I made an initial collection, I sent them, and now somebody else has made their own modifications on the collection. Okay, so hence now we have multiple collections floating around in the team. That is multiple sources of truth already. Then the third thing, even when I'm writing clients to call those functions, I may even be doing validations at my end on the client side as well before calling the API, correct? The client could be your front end or another microservice. If I want to follow that process also, do I need to maintain another schema in my client code to verify against? Hence, the problem that multiple sources of schema are floating around. Now with different variations of schemas floating around, the team gets bugs during its development much more. You need to get on team calls, call each other, ask, get the latest version, updated version, correct version. Hence, this reduces efficiency of the team. For being 10x, these are the small things in which we reduce the scope of our wasted effort, repeat effort, and effort which does not create an immediate business value to my organization. Okay, an effort which could even be done by anybody, even an AI maybe, but that's not the actual logic of my application, right? That is mundane work like speed work, labor work. So we want to avoid these things. Otherwise, we cannot be 10x. So in Godspeed, what we do is we go with schema driven development and configure over code approach. There is one universal schema. That one universal schema gives us this not only the API schema which the microservice understands and validates your inputs against, okay, and applies authentication and everything, but there is also generation of other schemas like Swagger spec schema is automatically generated from your event schema that you have configured in the service. Then also comes your GraphQL schema. If you're making a GraphQL API exposing on top of it, you can just generate the GraphQL schema, and without writing any single line of code, your GraphQL API will be up on the same events that you even reuse across your REST API. Okay, you can as a developer even add a grpc handle. Godspeed allows you to expose these events via any event sources. All you need to work on is one universal schema format derived from Swagger, which you write in your microservice. Then your Swagger specs are generated, GraphQL schema is generated, Postman collection is generated, even your basic integration test with APIs can be generated from it. Okay, your mock server can run on top of it. So everything is done based on single source of line of code or configuration or schema written in one place. So this is another process we follow in Godspeed, and this video which we are sharing below in the comment talks about the schema driven development and single source of truth in event sources and events. How we do it in Godspeed, you could even use it within your own frameworks if you are using within your organization. If not, try out Godspeed and see how you like the process. Thank you.